How's it going, everybody? I'm Jeff Slakey. I am here and I am about to have a great conversation and kind of a wrap-up look back at this beautiful award that Mason Health received after so much work that was done with Performance Excellence Northwest. That's Theron Post here. We're going to talk with him in a second. And of course, Eric Moll, who we've talked with over the years at the hospital. How you guys doing?
Awesome.
Wonderful, thank you.
This was a great conversation as we've kind of developed it over the few different times. Theron, you and I have talked, as well as Eric and some of the leadership with the hospital. I love it when an organization looks within itself to try to better itself, and that's kind of the whole purpose of this. Theron, talk to me again about Performance Excellence Northwest and how you came into the picture.
Thanks for having me today. And the answer to your question is we are a 501c3 that is a nonprofit that helps organizations at the regional level. So there's a national version of us that does the Baldrige program nationally, and we are PENW, who's the regional program that helps organizations get better.
And you mentioned Baldrige. Explain that a little bit to folks who may be unfamiliar.
So Baldrige is a federal government program from the Department of Commerce, started in 1987 during the Reagan administration, and that was at a point when America was having some difficulty being competitive. And so a bunch of leaders got together inside the government and in the private sector and developed this framework, which still stands today, more than 35 years later. It adjusts every couple of years to keep current with the environments that it exists in, and it's also expanded from just being a business primarily award to also include education, which is higher education and school districts, as well as healthcare organizations, and it also includes small businesses, as well as its newest addition, which is the communities of excellence.
Eric, how did you kind of learn about this?
Well, it had a growing kind of mystique within healthcare, in the early part of my career, and so I continued to hear more and more about it, and it was always in connection to organizations that were absolutely like the platinum blue chip companies, and so it started to become kind of a beacon for me in terms of okay, first understand what it is and a framework of excellence, and then understand, well, how could that benefit Mason Health? And so that's where, as I looked at more and more, I could really see how, these examples of these national organizations that were best in class, how that could be, applied here at Mason.
How was the initial reaction to you letting everybody know that we're going to work towards this? Because sometimes, you're opening up the books. You are looking at every aspect of the organization to make it better. Sometimes that can be uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, exactly. And so it's kind of, I'd say there's two large emotions. One is confusion. So what is this? What is this really? Is it an award? For the record, no, it's not about the award. Is it a management system? What are we talking about here when we're talking about Baldrige and excellence? And so really kind of starting to dispel and simplify and address that confusion. So that's one. And then the other is excitement, because I think, employees at Mason are very proud. They're very proud of their community. They're very proud of Mason County. They're very proud of Mason Health, Mason General Hospital. There's a long tradition and organization, so they want to see Mason Health continue to be successful. And so there's like that excitement of like, okay, we are good. Let's continue to get better, and let's be an example for others. So a lot of excitement.
So Theron, talk to me about how after Mason Health gets in touch with you, the process begins.
So you made a very good initial point. Well, this is really an internal model. And so they really come to us for guidance and knowledge about what the criteria is comprised of and what good practices might look like. So part of the answer back to the Baldrige Award is that it's meant to help competitiveness, but it's also intended to share best practices. So those are the two primary objectives that we're trying to do. And so Mason can come to us. They can put people in our programs, educational-based programs. They can also put people in our assessment programs, which are the one that they went through to receive this award. And going through the process really is one that just deepens the organization and the individuals who participate in that, their knowledge of what we're really trying to do, and also how to go about doing it inside their own organization. So as much as Eric has put into this award and process internally, he has also worked with us externally and given us examiners and given us people into our programs. So we've had a long partnership.
So then you're able to take some of the things that Mason Health has distilled out and add it to the next person's pathway.
Yes.
And with the Mount Rainier Award, I know there's two separate tracks there. One is a little less intensive. Mason Health chose the more intensive route. How did that work? And explain that to me.
Well, and I think for us, it's kind of an incremental approach. So we actually started with the less intensive several years ago. And so that's just building competency and familiarity and comfort. And so it's this wonderful progressive pathway that PENW has developed. And so, as we were able to kind of get more confident and get more familiar with the criteria, with the framework, that allowed us to then expand and really look to all parts of our organization. And it's a pretty intensive, exhaustive, and as both of you have acknowledged, you're kind of, you're exposing the organization, you're opening yourself up to an overwhelming amount of feedback, but it's tremendously insightful, valuable feedback. And so it was really a progressive process for us getting to that level where we could take on that kind of endeavor.
Wow, Mason Health has just completed this aspect of it. Theron, talk to me about what you know to be the further down the road, the longevity of earning these awards, these certifications, these understandings that you're working on the best practices in terms of labor retention, also attracting new high-quality candidates for employment, things like that.
Yeah, so organizations have to demonstrate excellence in 5 different areas, and that's their processes and their key things that they do, services, products, those kinds of things. It's also within the customers, how they serve their customers, how they build relationships, how they engage them. And then also for the workforce side, which you mentioned, we see a lot of retention, we see a lot of growth and development kinds of metrics that are going in a positive way. And then there's a leadership and governance section, as well as a financial and market and strategy achievement section. So you don't have to have the highest results in every single one of those, but we like to see trends in many of those. And that's the trajectory that Mason is currently on. They're starting to really build their systems. And for those people that are a little new to the process, I would try to succinctly say to you that if you looked at an org chart, you see a lot of different functions, but you don't see necessarily the functions that we work on as an organization. So for example, we have an area that assesses measurement and best practices. And there's no one really in an organization that does that typically. And so in order for them to do this work and to do this well, they have to kind of look at themselves, rather than being functional units, how they work together as a system and how they share pieces of these answers and how they really need to collaborate and work together, assess how they're doing them, and then figure out how they can do them better, implement those strategies, and then figure out if they made the result that they were looking for or not. And if they do, keep going. If they don't, then back up and kind of see where they are.
When it comes to the leadership aspects of this, Eric, have you been able to talk with the executive team or whatever and identify some people within the organization that have really taken a handle on this and really moved it forward even more than you expected?
So wonderful question, and it's a collective effort, and so whether folks, employees at Mason, are directly immersed in Baldrige or not, they're all contributing, because as we continue to build out this system and refine our processes and improve them, they are absolutely frontline on that and helping us improve. And then we take that information. Yes, we have some really strong leaders in the organization that have just have gone very deep in their knowledge of the Baldrige framework and how we can apply that. And so, yeah, we have these kind of content and knowledge experts, but then we really try to distill it throughout the organization in terms of how we then apply the processes and best practices.
Theron, have you heard any stories about how people have taken what they've learned within their organization and put it out into the other parts of their lives, or how they are able to take what they've learned here and maybe improve their family life or with their school or anything like that?
Well, a personal example that I could share is that for many years I was a scoutmaster in Boy Scouting. And in that process, as I began to be a leader and began to work with the other parents, I actually brought the Baldrige framework into talk at a really just generic level about how we were working together. We ended up actually developing our own troop scorecard and went around actually asking the kids and asking the parents what they thought of what we were doing, as well as the leaders and how we were working together. So it is something that's very transferable. Organizations are organizations, and so anytime you get people together, having them like Mason has people united community, empowered people, exceptional health. When you can get people all focused and pointing in the same direction, it really is amazing what you can accomplish when you get that many heads, that many hearts, and that many smart people around doing things better.
It was very exciting, and congratulations to you for all that hard work. You're going to be able to read about it in the latest edition of Scope. There's also information on Mason Health's website. Performance Excellent Northwest is also online as well. If you or your organization is looking at this model as well, Theron Post from there, also Eric Moll from Mason Health. Thank you so much, guys. It's good to talk with you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.